Evening, everyone. Welcome to our webinar tonight about supporting your loved ones through the aged care transition, particularly those in the sandwich generation, which I'm approaching. So we've got aging parents, and we need to be supporting them through making those decisions. And as a guest today, a very special guest, I've got Savannah Falzon from Retirement Care Solutions also presenting. She's a specialist that helps clients or their parents, the sandwich generation, find the right retirement village or independent living or aged care solution. She takes away the overwhelm and becomes their personal advocate, guide, and sounding board, because it's often obviously an emotional time. And if you were here early, you would have heard also about some of the urgency that Savannah's often facing with her clients. So she's assisted clients for over 10 years, providing specialised solutions for retirees and seniors looking to move into retirement living or aged care. So without further ado, Savannah, you've got this.
Hello. Thank you, Jacqui. And I do appreciate the opportunity to share with your guests. Any opportunity is always good, to help anyone navigate that journey through, particularly aged care can be quite daunting. Yeah. So tonight I was looking at when is a good time to move. What things or what unique challenges and changes are there for individuals and families. And what I've found, excuse me, over the last 10 years, there's always common signs of aging. And we're always finding that in hindsight, you could have helped your loved one move into care much sooner. It would have been a much easier transition. And for us as specialists, we're usually given the task of finding the emergency situation because we've got the crisis and their loved one is in hospital and we've only got a couple of days left before, they're asked to leave, so to speak. But if you can recognize the signs, it doesn't necessarily have to get to that stage. So it's also understanding what options are available and planning ahead is the key. So the power of proactive planning. What we've found with clients, those that plan and having those conversations, giving your loved ones more control over their lifestyle and their preferences leads to a better transition and more, they come on board and they choose where they want to be, and it enables them to settle in much easier. And quite often the family aren't experiencing that burden of guilt because they've had to do it themselves. So if you engage your loved ones in those conversations and it works out well. So let's what are the complexities of retirement living and aged care? As I tell, particularly for aged care, as I tell most of my clients or their families, we don't put going into aged care on our bucket list. It's not in our top 100. But I can tell you now, I go and see many homes, and some of these new aged care homes, I put my hand up and say, yes, someone can feed me every day, 3 times a day, morning and afternoon tea and supper. You can do my washing, you can change my bed, because they're just like 5-star hotels. In saying that, not everyone wants the 5-star hotel. Some people want the homely feel. And so understanding your loved one's journey is going to be stressful. It is going to be, in many cases, full of anxiety. For example, we recently moved a client who was living in the Redlands, and it has come to fruition, or to light, I should say. She was had an incident. She ended up in hospital. And once the family came to me, it became apparent that her husband was quite coercive, and he had quite a drinking problem, which had a flow-on effect in terms of her anxiety and stressing living in the family home. So me being the advocate, I said, okay. They wanted to discharge her from hospital. So I got involved with the social worker and explained the situation. She didn't have to go back home, and we subsequently found a suitable, beautiful home up near the Sunshine Coast where her daughter lives and where she's going to get her most support. So for her, though, every time she thought about having to go back to her husband caused her to have anxiety, and that resulted in a deterioration of health. So we needed to escalate things and get her out of that situation. From the family's perspective, knowing what was going behind those four walls could have alleviated a lot of stress and anxiety and planned ahead and got her out of the home much sooner. So, when is the right time to start thinking about your next home or your loved one's home? As I said, it's not on the bucket list. So there's really, is there ever a right time? I can tell you when there's a wrong time, and that's when we generally see our clients when your loved one has a fall, their health has deteriorated dramatically, and they end up in hospital, and the clinical team say you can't go home. So, so one of the three points that we mention here is the care needs. Quite often, you will see your loved one needs change, their motivation to do things, or they're getting slower in their mobility. Their forgetfulness is increasing. Those sorts of things are starting to be like little pennies just dropping, and being observant. Financial, currently with the Royal Commission, there's changes coming ahead. They were due to be changed on the 1st of July, and they've been pushed out to November. And that can have quite a significant change in people's financial how they will pay for their accommodation. So a lot of people are moving into care before the 1st of November. And lifestyle, what sort of lifestyle are you having, or is your loved one having in their home if they're being isolated, lack of social contact because they can't get out like they used to. So here are some examples of signs when to start exploring. The home is just getting too big. So I recently moved my oldest client, 98. She was living in a 2-story home, 3 bedrooms, 3 living areas, and it only came to my knowledge just before I had moved her into care that she hadn't been upstairs in the last 8 years. So she had no idea the state of the house upstairs. So, yes, she had the empty rooms, the high maintenance, the large yard. She had an over 800 square meter block. So she was getting people to maintain everything. Well, too many steps. She just didn't go up the steps anymore. But just surprisingly, she still had her license. And up until a couple of weeks before she went into care, she was still driving. I was like, oh God, I'm glad I didn't run into you on the roads. But very cognitive, very switched on. And she contacted me and made the decision to move. Loneliness, this is one of the biggest factors, I believe, that moving into aged care can be such a positive aspect for your loved ones. It enables you to give them that social interaction, the support that you can't give them 24 hours, 7 days a week. You have your own, either your own family, your own lifestyle, work, etc. And we know from, particularly from COVID, with the whole isolation, the deterioration of people's health just declined. So isolation and lack of connection has a huge impact, particularly those that are suffering with dementia or Alzheimer's. Safety concerns is another big one. Falls. I recently came across a client, or potential client. He was in hospital. He lived on his own in his 80s, had a fall in the backyard, and no one found him for 4 days. Yeah, sad. I'm thinking he's in his 80s. Has no one tried to contact him over those 4 days, whether it's neighbours, family? It's really quite sad. Security, we hear a lot of elderly being targeted, and the decline in cognition. So loved ones leaving ovens, stoves on, those sorts of things can be of major concern. Some more signs of the physical, the cognitive, and the emotional. So I just had someone ring me this afternoon, and the amount of elderly that are experiencing falls is just maddening, and quite often they don't have the alarms, the pendants, or the wrist alarm to alert anyone that they've had a fall, or they have cognitive decline and wouldn't even know how to press those buttons. But in this particular case, she had a fall a couple of months ago. They sent her back home. Had another fall, went back to hospital, sent her back home. The third time, the ambulance made the decision to take her to hospital and told the clinical team she lives in a high set and she's not to go back home. So they're the sorts of things that we see quite frequently. Changes in mobility and balance, and struggling to do household tasks. With my own mother many years ago, she was living in a retirement village, and the whole point of her going into a retirement village was for the social aspect and so forth. But at the end of the day, they said to me, look, it's independent, and she can't get to the activities, then she needs to miss out. But what I was finding with household tasks, she was an immaculate, always kept her home immaculate. And I noticed the deterioration, and also with the cognitive signs, I would visit quite regularly, probably 3 or 4 times a week, to check on her. And consistently, she was wearing the same clothes. She hadn't realised she was wearing the same clothes. And I think she would have been mortified had she known that. The withdrawing from social activities, this is another major one. Quite often with any cognitive decline, it's a way of masking so people aren't aware that they're declining in their cognition. Okay, what have we got next? Okay, so what is an aged care home? I think for many people, there's a preconception, maybe their grandparents or great-grandparents have previously been in aged care home, and there's that belief that it's just, you go in there and it's almost like a prison. What people don't realise, for many of my clients that have gone into care, they've thrived. They're getting their meals, nutritious meals, their medication on time, social interaction, activities, bus trips, all sorts of things. But one of the important thing is they actually support people to live as independently as possible as well. So if you can still shower, still get yourself to activities, they will encourage you to do that. But what is important about being in an aged care home is that peace of mind, the security, because you have 24/7 medical and personal care at your fingertips. It's suitable for seniors that need assistance with bathing, dressing, mobility, cognitive decline, dementia, chronic illnesses that need that ongoing care, Parkinson's, those sorts of things. And also for individuals that no longer feel safe or able to manage in their own home. As I mentioned, it does provide the round-the-clock care with 24/7 registered nurses, assisted nurses and carers. You've got a safe and supportive environment that provide tailored care plans. And what normally happens is when a resident first moves in to a home, they do spend quite a bit of time with getting to know that new person, their routines, when they like to shower, how they like their tea, their coffee, so that they are now working in that person's home rather than someone coming to someone's workplace. And considerations, yes, it's important to consider fee structures. There's always, there can be also extra costs as well. So understanding aged care options. So how this works is there's generally not in every home. Every home has an open area or a general area where most people of different levels of care can reside. We then have what's called a memory support, where it's more secure. So that's more tailored to anyone that has dementia, Alzheimer's, who have a tendency to go wandering or exit seeking, as they call it, but also anyone with perhaps behaviours of aggression, those sorts of things. And most homes will take partially or fully supported residents, so they don't have the affordability to pay the full cost of their accommodation. That would be a fully funded resident. And we look at what your lifestyle preferences are, what your financial needs are, and as well as your care needs. So comparing the options, this is really important because it's that saying, it's horses for courses. Not everybody is going to want the same type of home. We have some clients that want that 5-star bells and whistles, you know, the Hampton Styles home, where we have other clients that just want the more simple, homely setup that reminds them of their own home. Affordability is very important, looking at what their income and assets are, and perhaps the need to talk to a financial advisor or a planner to discuss the affordability for your loved ones. The care requirements, going into aged care, you're assessed according to your care needs, and they can be ranging from low to high. So depending on how independent or high dependent you are will depend on your accessibility to get into a home which may have a vacancy or not. The other thing is, depending on how urgent your loved one is or what the preference is, if you know of a home that your loved one wants to go into, it can mean putting their name down, getting them clinically approved and putting their name on the wait list. What people don't realise is sometimes you can get that phone call, there's a vacancy, but your loved one's not ready. You can decline and ask them to keep you on the wait list, or your loved one on the wait list. So, how to choose the right option? We work through a step-by-step process, assessing needs, looking at current and future care needs. We look at financial situations. It's important to note that we're not actual financial advisors. However, we do have a very good understanding on how the finances play out. We research available options, and then we also suggest touring potential homes. And as it says here, speak with experts, your financial advisors, the likes of Jacqui for your estate planning. That is really important. That what most people don't realise, or maybe they do, if your loved one has diminished cognitive ability, there's a line drawn in the sand. What they have today cannot be changed tomorrow. So it's important that their estate planning is up to date so that it's not too late should they want to change it. And understanding what government assistance there is and funding options. With ACATS, or the Aged Care Assessment Team, that's the segue to getting the government funded subsidies for care. So, resources. So, My Aged Care is a free service that helps older people and their families access government funded aged care services. You would ring them to do the initial referral to arrange an ACAT to assess your loved one's care needs, but also they can assist with interim measures whilst you're waiting for that assessment to happen. There's in-home care, short-term care, and the aged care home. They're all the resources through My Aged Care. Highly recommend, depending on your loved one's income and assets, seeking the financial advice and direction from a financial advisor to get all the ducks in a row. Because once you make a decision, and if it's not the correct financial decision, it's very hard to change that. As mentioned, estate planner discussing their last wills, wishes, wills, trust, enduring power of attorney, guardianship, and also one we haven't put on there is an advanced health directive. So how can we help? We encourage you to have open and honest conversations with your loved ones, what they think their care looks like and what they hope their future would look like, and setting that in motion so you're not left in that crisis situation. We offer tailored solutions with expert guidance, and we do advocate for you and your loved ones when they're transitioning into aged care. So these are some of our services. Obviously, one of our specialties is our aged care placement. We've been doing this for a very, very long time, and we get very good results for our clients. Licensed real estate agents, so we do help our clients sell their home if they don't have a preferred real estate agent. With our network, we are able to connect you with referral partners that would look after your loved ones in that decluttering, packing, and moving stage to go into their next home. Downsizing, so we do downsizing into retirement and over 50s living. It's not always aged care, which is very exciting to get people to look at that next journey from their current home. As I mentioned, we aren't financial advisors, but we are able to support people with their funding options and guide them to how they can look at paying their aged care fees, or advising them to go and see a financial advisor. Same with estate planning. We work with professionals like Jacqui, and we can help people navigate the home care program as well. Final thoughts, start conversations early. So keep an eye out for changing health signs, desires, and lifestyle preferences. Explore the options, tour homes, put your loved ones' names on wait lists, seek support, and visit My Aged Care online and see what services are available. Thank you. It's been a real pleasure sharing our aged care placement services with you all.
Thank you.
And I think the last screen is just to how to get in touch with us, but you can always reach out to Jacqui.
Yeah, and we'll display this at the end too. For those who want to ask a question while we're going, the chat function's disabled in the webinar option, but there is a Q&A function. So if you want to ask a question, you can pop it in there. Otherwise, when we finish the recording, I will open it up for people to raise their hand and ask questions. So hang about. I now have some updates for you as well with our sandwich generation. Along the lines of estate planning, there is a new supporter role which is being introduced with the aged care reforms. And I did a webinar last month for those who missed it. If you want the replay, I can send that to you, which of course were then pushed back, as Savannah said, to November. So we still have time. And we still have time to work out what's happening too. The stats of those who reach 65, about a third of men will end up in some form of aged care and about half of all women. So I know a lot of people come and see me and they put in all their preferences that they want to stay in their home as long as possible. But then starting to ease them into a conversation like Savannah's just talked about and say, you know, sometimes it's taken out of your hands and you can't actually go home. What sort of care would you like? What sort of facilities? Start thinking about it so your loved ones do know. Because even though they stubbornly want to stay at home, sometimes that can be harder for everyone too. So I think we do actually, like Savannah said, have in our minds some of those horrible old facilities, and particularly because we watch a lot of American TV, the facilities that they show on that are not very nice either. So I'm going to skip through a couple of these slides. If we have time, I'll come back to them because I have put some of the changes on there in terms of contributions. But I want to talk about the new supporter role because it's really important for those of us who are helping our parents make decisions to know what this is. Because we have state legislation, and in every state in Australia, we have different legislation, which is not very helpful, for powers of attorney, and they're all different. Some states have 2 or 3 documents. In Queensland, we have 1 document where you can appoint all your attorneys, but then we have the Advanced Healthcare Directive, which can have attorneys in it as well, and sometimes they contradict each other. So we do have to make sure we do a really good, thorough job in making sure those documents are done. But this new supporter role is a federal role. So this is a role that will be registered federally. It's for supported decision making. So it is while someone still has capacity. And they, someone who's registered as a supporter can directly ask for communication, be asked to keep informed, and be asked for information that be sent to them. But they are not to be the ones making decisions. So they still have to support the older person to make decisions for themselves. So then the older person can tell the supporter to communicate their decision. So it's going to be really interesting over time to see how this is managed, because how do or will the facilities know when the supporter is communicating the older person's wishes rather than just overriding it? So it's a whole other situation. It's not compulsory to register someone as a supporter. However, if you do register someone as a supporter, they are registered throughout the whole aged care system. So currently and formerly, we've had certain roles that they're getting rid of, which were limited to certain areas and not across the board. And if someone moved through the aged care system to a different stage, they then didn't have someone that could help them with decisions. And so they had to start the process again. So it's good that it's applying across the whole thing, but how does it interact then with the power of attorney? So a person who can be registered has to be a family member or a friend. It will be interesting to see over time whether people in an employed carer role can end up being a registered supporter. I think that they're trying to set it up so that that can't happen, so there can't be a conflict of interest between people who are employed to help versus people who are just wanting to help someone they love. But that might cause problems as well. So as I said before, the person who is in the supporter role can request access and receive information directly. That continues up until someone loses capacity. It continues all the way through even after someone's lost capacity, but someone in the supporter role then can't be making decisions after someone's lost capacity, so they can just be informed. So that then leads us to making sure powers of attorney are in place because they cover once someone has lost capacity. But if you have a power of attorney, you don't have to be registered. And people who don't have a power of attorney can be registered as well. So tricky how that's going to be managed. You can have more than one person. Of course, because it's the older person who's making decisions for themselves, you shouldn't have to then have some kind of situation where people in the registered supporter role have to work jointly. But we do see situations in families where, you know, you have maybe 4 or 5 children, or as an example, and then some have different ideas about what mum is communicating, or maybe mum sort of goes along a bit and is giving different information to each person, and they're all registered. So again, this is all new. We have to watch and see how it plays out and how they're going to work it. So it's the regular representative and the authorised representatives, which we have currently, and they are only for limited purposes. But if someone is already in the aged care system, maybe they have support at home, and they have someone authorised to represent them, those people will automatically become registered supporters for the whole aged care system as at the 1st of November. So if people currently have representatives, it's a chance to clean those people up potentially before the 1st of November, in case some of those regular representatives and authorised representatives are not appropriate to be an overall registered supporter. So how to do it? So it has to be registered. Where? My Aged Care. So it can be done through the online account. When there is an aged care assessor, they can do it, or an aged care specialist. So someone that's got access to actually doing that. So it's managed by the federal department. And in terms of, it'll be interesting as well to see over time in terms of challenging registrations or removing people inappropriate. There'll have to be some kind of body that we can go to as an appeals place, or some kind of regulator for all this as well. So then if you register your person as a supporter role, presumably there's some way in the system of also ticking a box to say that, yes, the person being registered as a supporter also has decision-making authority. So there's some kind of power of attorney there as well. So what we're being told is that there is a way of identifying people who are just a registered supporter and those who are also a power of attorney. But as I've said before, it's not compulsory, and people with a power of attorney do not need to be registered. So, why has this role arisen? Primarily to try and regulate abuse around older people. So, although I'm raising some questions about how it's all going to work, ultimately, those who get registered have a higher level of duty to the person that they're supporting. And there are now criminal penalties for people who don't promote the preferences of the older person, when they don't try and include the person in decision making while they still have capacity. So that is why it's been introduced, but because it's not compulsory, potentially you've still got people who are intermeddling, and they're not going to be the people that are registered who need to have some kind of regulation around them. So I can see what they're trying to do, and over time we'll see how successful it is or not, because those who want to do the best for their loved one will do the best for their loved one regardless if there's criminal penalties for not doing it or not. So time will tell. But the interplay between those who are registered and those with a power of attorney, particularly while someone still has capacity, will be interesting, because quite often your power of attorney says it doesn't begin until someone's lost capacity. But more frequently, we're preparing powers of attorney that begin immediately, because the line for capacity is not black and white, and it's a very grey area of potential decline over many years. So we have it begin immediately, and then the attorney is supporting the person to be making decisions where they can. So it's two different roles, and hopefully they don't conflict with each other, but time will tell. So I think I've probably just raised more uncertainty and more questions, but for people in the sandwich generation, you do need to know these potential problems. It is better to have a power of attorney, of course, because then you have the legal authority to be making decisions. And I still think it's better as well to be registered as a supporter than not. And the question will just arise, if something happens and there are other people who are also registered supporters, how that's going to work with each other within the family. So watch this space, really. And we've done so well in time. We are now at question time, everyone. So those of you who are not live, unfortunately, I'm now going to stop the recording, so you're missing out on questions. But you know how to contact me. And actually, I'll just share Savannah's details again at the end, so you have those. Here we go. So you have contact details to reach out and ask any questions directly. And of course, and I'm sure Savannah will as well, get back to you. Those of you watching the replay, of course, that's the way to do it. And otherwise, I hope that that was informative, if not confusing.